It's the Honda engine, and Adrian Newey's been talking about the Honda engine. It looks like, very much like he is now trying to fully shift the blame onto Honda. Hello and welcome to Manual Override, the show where we deploy our opinions on all the latest juicy gossip and rumours from the paddock of our favourite sport, Formula One. I'm Will.
And I am Tom, and we are very excited. It's finally race week.
We're finally here, the first weekend of the 2026 Formula One season. How you feeling?
Nervous?
Yeah.
The build up for it was like, even from the end of last season, like it's new regs, drivers have changed teams, we've got some new rookies in, employees have gone from one team to another, all these things were changing, and then we've had testing, and things haven't gone quite to plan.
Yeah, I think it's really exciting. It's brand new regulations. There's a lot of change, a lot to get your head around, but it could be really exciting. And the good thing is, so far, we've just watched free practice today. It looks like it might be close, which is what we want to see. And some of the early reporting suggested otherwise.
Yeah, I think it always happens with F1. Every new season, and especially every new reg season, people get sort of a bit worried that three teams, or the same top four teams, are going to run away with it. There's going to be a 10-second gap to the next best player, and everyone always worries about that. Testing always shows that, because teams are still figuring out how the car works, Aston, or not. And by the time you get to free practice, people are starting to fine-tune things, people are starting to get closer. When you're actually on a track with like same fuel loads and all that sort of stuff, things naturally get a bit closer. So we'll see. Hopefully it's a fun weekend.
Yeah. So today we're going to talk through some of the news that's come out of free practice and some of the news behind the scenes, particularly in regards to Aston Martin, who are not having a good start to the year.
No, it's safe to say that what they did during testing has not changed.
And then we're going to go into some of our predictions for this weekend, which we will come back to see how they went come after the weekend, and also for the season as a whole.
We start with Aston. I feel like it's the place that everyone wants to start.
Yeah. All right, so Aston Martin have been trying to remove the bones from their drivers by just shaking them. Yes.
Yeah, it turns out that the older boy, the wily fox, might be able to handle the finger breaking a bit more than his younger Padawan. But even for Fernando to go, I can't do more than 25 laps in this car because the vibrations will kill me. It just ruin his hands. Yeah. That's bad.
Yeah, and in fairness to Lance Stroll, he did have quite bad wrist injury a couple of years ago, so you can see why he's not keen on it either.
Yeah, and I think the bigger problem is that they don't really know where the source of any of this vibration is coming.
It's the Honda engine, and Adrian Newey's been talking about the Honda engine. It looks like, very much like he is now trying to fully shift the blame onto Honda, which I don't think is entirely fair. Especially when...
Yeah, this thing, whilst Adrian Newey says it's the Honda engine, and whilst it might be coming from the engine, they don't know specifically where or what's interacting with it to cause those vibrations. But it's naturally going to be a shift of blame, because Aston have hired Adrian Newey with quite a hefty pay packet to make them a championship winning car, and they may as well drive around the safety car.
Yeah, I mean, I think it will come to pass that the decision for him to be team principal and X other roles in the team is probably a bad one, because a couple of things have come out, and this is mostly Adrian Newey talking himself to the press. One is that it sounds like the first time anyone from Aston Martin went to look at the Honda factory was in November 2025. That's after them signing the deal for Honda to make the engines in May of 2023. Which isn't great. And when they got there, they found a much smaller team of people working on the engine than they expected. They were told a bunch of the other people who were working on it have now left to go and work on solar panels and aren't coming back. And yeah, so that's when they were first alerted to that. And that speaks of massive corporate oversight to me. How has no one gone to look at that before then?
Massive. What happened there is Honda made good engines for Red Bull, let's go and take them, without really thinking that it's an entirely new set of regs. Maybe we should probably go check on this before signing a deal.
Yeah.
But no, they didn't do that. And maybe there's another Stroll working in the Honda factory.
And then I guess they've hired Adrian Newey quite late in the day. He's had less time to prep than the other things. He's then picked up the team principal role. They're making their own gearbox for the first time. It's just a lot of things lining up of bad decision making and leading to this very embarrassing situation for them.
Yeah, it's also trying to do too much at once, like engine supplier, changing the regs, changing your lead engineer, changing your team principal for that same person, signing deals too early, trying to create a gearbox that hasn't been built in conjunction with that engine. It's very much a sort of crazy paving collage of a F1 car, and it's clearly not worked. So I know Haas used to do it when they first joined. They basically did a flat pack F1 car, and it worked out nicely for them. But they took bits that they knew worked from other things. They didn't try and reinvent the wheel.
Yeah.
And
I just keep thinking like how embarrassing it is, the amount of money they've spent. I think there's something to be said for Honda. There's something to be said for Honda not having all of the blame, because Adrian Newey has said himself that on his kind of like wind tunnel aerodynamics numbers, he thinks that they're best of the rest area on speed. Obviously they can't run at speed because of the engine, but that's not amazing either, is it? If Aston Martin were P5, I think we'd still be a bit disappointed.
With the amount they've invested recently, yes.
So, yeah, a lot of questions to answer for Aston Martin. What else came out of testing? What did you notice?
Testing-wise, just a lot of innovation. I think that the bit that caught my eye more than anything else was that Ferrari actually looked like they might have a decent race car this year, but they looked like they had a decent race car last year. At the testing point, that is. I like that they've got a little bit inventive with their rear wing. That I just think is cool.
Barbecue wing. I don't know. Were they using
the
it
barbecue
in
wing.
free practice? I don't think they were. I think it was just a test option.
I didn't see it in free practice, but I do that people have. I know they can't go for the same six-wheeled concepts that they used to go for, but I do that people have seen this reg and gone, how inventive can we get within it, even though it's restrictive. So I liked seeing that. Whether or not they use it, I don't know, but it was fun to see. Reliability as a general rule seems to be a question mark, even still in free practice.
Yeah. If we look at free practice, certainly we've only seen FP1 and FP2, but a lot of lockups, a lot of people going off, I think struggling with getting to grips with the new braking points or how they manage when the battery is like delivering extra power into the car and the drivers aren't quite ready for it. And that's affecting all kinds of drivers. I think the biggest off of anyone was Max Verstappen. So everyone's vulnerable.
Yeah. But I think this is also, it highlights a good point that I think for like Lindblad, who's joining as a rookie, it gives him a little bit of a boost in that everyone is learning the cars. Like, sure, other guys will have more experience and better racecraft and more understanding of the tracks and all that sort of stuff, but he is learning the cars at the same pace as everyone else.
Yeah.
So I think that might give a nice bit of boost to the rookies.
Yeah, not that we can necessarily go off of free practice times specifically, but Lindblad put in some good times. He was looking good.
He's a good driver, clearly.
And the fifth, I think, British driver on the grid, which is a lot now.
It's a lot. I'll leave it there.
A couple of other things, I think relatively recently announced in the new FIA guidelines, but that even if it was a little while ago, I hadn't noticed until now, but is quite interesting now that the season is starting, which is rules around penalties for collisions have changed a little bit. Yeah. So the updated FIA guidelines now say that in the cases of extreme collisions, drivers can now face a disqualification or even a suspension from the following race. So much harsher penalties for extreme collisions. On the other hand, light contact is now not considered sufficient enough for a penalty at all.
And I'm a fan of this.
Yeah.
Because light contact is going to happen, especially one lap one, anywhere in that where you're jockeying for position. It's also going to happen when you're driving at 200 plus mile an hour down a straight and you're trying to fend and overtake and all that sort of stuff. Light contact has the potential to happen, and rarely does it massively affect a race. They might lose a bit of bodywork and it'll scuttle off the track and someone will go and pick it up. But I like that for major contact there are much harsher fallouts for it, in that it means that people have to race more cleanly.
Yeah, I think,
but also have a much bigger swing on the championship as a whole. If you, I don't know, is it major contact with another vehicle?
I think it's with another driver. Yeah, it's not just if you crash into a wall.
Yeah, because if you look at last year where Norris tried to overtake Piastri on the inside. He didn't necessarily make massive contact with Piastri. He did make contact, but he made fairly solid contact with the wall. Like, when you look at it from that angle, he's made a risky move. It was a dangerous move. Even he admitted that. He made a little bit of contact, but it could have been massive.
Yeah.
So it's like where that grey area starts to become.
You were going to end up in this situation where the stewards are still having to field these difficult decisions, and if the ramifications are bigger, I assume, for the most part, we'll see them more lenient than they have been. But we'll find out. Maybe everyone will get banned. Because it is interesting, this is coming in along with these new regulations, with these cars that no one's used to driving, and we've already seen them making a lot of mistakes, and I'm expecting a lot more mistakes. So there may yet be some big crashes.
And most of these mistakes tend to revolve around braking.
Yeah, and they've had the fortune so far in free practice of all being spread out while they're doing that.
Yeah. Yeah, turn 1, turn 2 and turn 3 in Melbourne might be quite interesting this year.
Yeah. I had one last thing on free practice. I'm trying to think what it was. Oh, my last kind of general thought on Australia, going off what you've just said, is I think we're going to have a really chaotic race. I'm expecting, Aston Martin aside, who have already basically said that they're not going to finish the race, still to be seen if they even start it. But them aside, I'm expecting quite a lot of DNFs, probably mostly through mechanical issues. I reckon we'll have a few drivers having incidents as well. And there's going to be a bunch who just get the battery control all wrong and find themselves really slow and they're having to recharge and losing loads of position. I think it's going to be a mess. What remains to be seen is if it's going to be an entertaining mess or just like Yeah, I think it's also like, for us, was it 4 a.m. for us, the race? So quali's at 5, the race is at 4. I think it's that way around. Yeah. So it's certainly going to be one to wake us up. That's for sure. Yeah, going to need it. Early starts. So these first 3 races, right, are the horrible ones for the UK, and then after that it gets better.
Yeah, they get them out of the way early for us, and then we say that it gets better. After the first 3 races, we end up in some fairly troubled parts of the world at the moment.
Yeah. So I guess the question is, is the 2026 F1 season going to be 2 races shorter than we expected it to be? Because of Iran and the situation in the Middle East.
Yeah, it gets a bit further than that, because today is Friday for anyone that's questioning, is Japan has just been added to the sort of British Tourism Board of, I think, twice.
Yeah, but I think that will just be about like terror threat levels. In terms of the airspace closing, which is what's going to be the real issue, it's the likes of Bahrain and Saudi that are at risk. It's been a bit of an extra problem for the teams getting to Australia because a lot of flights go through Dubai. And getting the freight has been slow. Engineers have had to work through the night. It's far from the biggest fallout of what's happening in the Middle East is the impacts to Formula One. But it is interesting to see how it is affecting them, even though they're in Australia. Yeah.
Within our little sort of microcosm of us looking at F1 and enjoying F1, it's an interesting bit of news and a question mark that we have to look at. And if they do cancel those races, we're just down 2 races, they're not going to replace them. But in the larger picture, it's definitely not the biggest issue. But we're not a political channel, we're a channel.
It does remind you that I think sport is political. Where's Sebastian Vettel when we need him?
Oh, yeah.
And F1, it's a reminder that F1 is a global sport that travels around and, all sorts of things. It also reminds me just how much luck goes into winning a championship. There are things like this that are completely out of your control that may affect it. But anyway, I'm expecting chaotic weekend. Any last kind of thoughts on Australia before we get to predictions?
There's one exciting bit of news that, for me personally, is incredibly exciting. The Bottas 5-place grid penalty has seemingly disappeared.
So which
is fantastic news.
I haven't seen the detail. It's some kind of regulation shift, or maybe they've just decided to be nice. I don't know. They've dropped his penalty from 2 years ago. Kevin Magnussen will be
everyone's a fan.
Angry about it, I'm sure.
Yeah, everyone's a Bottas fan, including the FIA, it seems.
Yeah, I mean, it's difficult to say who's going to come out on top for Cadillac because we didn't see a lot of running from Perez because they had a lot of issues.
No, But like we said, we're still running our internal Cadillac battle.
Yeah.
I'm backing Bottas, and you're backing
Checo all the way, mate.
Mr.
See if he
But
can.
we'll see. I'm glad to see that Bottas lost his penalty because that helps me out quite a bit. But
Checo didn't do a single lap in FP2.
no, he's that confident. doesn't even try.
He did half a
It's all good.
lap, and then the car had to stop.
Yeah.
Shall we get into our? Shall we do some predictions?
We should do some predictions. Now, I will preface this with Will has entirely written down what he thinks and has put a lot of thought into this, whereas I am doing everything purely based on...
I'm amazed that you're deciding to do this because I have tormented myself over this decision and keep changing, particularly in the midfield. Like, it could go so many different ways. Oh, God, the stress I've put myself under to get this right.
I'm going for a different tactic this year because for the last 3 years, Will and I have been doing fantasy F1 and I have consistently lost.
So,
And I have put myself under so much pressure and stress that now I'm just cleaning my hands of it. I'm just going on vibes this year.
for a bit of context to that, we're also going to talk at the end of our predictions about our grid rival fantasy F1 team. We've had this fantasy team running on Grid Rival. We don't use the official F1 one. I think we just got into the habit of using Grid Rival, and I don't want to run two at once because my poor brain won't cope. So
I already run too many fantasy
Yeah.
teams. I've got football and Six Nations and all sorts of stuff going on.
So on our fantasy team, it's me and Tom, my fiance, and a couple of members of her family. Out of that lot, me and Tom are like the hardcore kind of F1 buffs, and we consistently do the worst of everyone.
Yes.
So this, I don't know what we're getting wrong. The way I thought we'd do this.
I think we talk about the season first.
Okay, so I've got a list of my predictions for the order of the constructors. So I guess the World Constructors Championship standing come the end of the year. I think it's slightly easier to say this than the drivers, although you get a rough idea. I've also got who I think is going to come top 3 in the Drivers' Championship, and those are my predictions for the year. It feels like early to be doing this, but at the same time we have got a bit of data from testing, from free practice, so we can but hope.
It's as much data as we're going to get if we're going to do this before we have any information.
Okay, so...
Otherwise it feels like cheating.
Yeah, although new regulations, I reckon we'll probably see quite a lot of change over the course of the year, and I probably haven't factored that in enough into my predictions. But let's just start with the constructors. So,
Are we going bottom to top?
let's go
or top
bottom
to
to top.
bottom?
That's more fun, right? Tom,
Yeah,
you
yeah.
start, or should I start? So
I'll go.
P11.
Because
Who do
I'm
you
going
think's
off
going to come
vibes, so I can't be
P11?
influenced. I can't be influenced by you.
Yes,
Who do I think is going to come P11?
in the
Aston.
constructors. Aston Martin. Okay, I haven't gone for Aston Martin.
Have you gone for
I've gone for
haven't you?
Cadillac. I think, I assume based on the size of the operation and the amount of money they've spent and the amount of time they've had in the sport that Aston Martin must sort themselves out eventually. And Martin Brundle, it's been reported, was warning them today that it could take 6 months for them to solve this problem. But even if it does, I reckon with Fernando Alonso and that team, they still end up getting a few points come the end of the season that just pips them ahead of Cadillac.
Fair enough. That you can probably guess that my based off vibes, my number 10 would be Cadillac.
And mine is Aston Martin, so we're pretty close.
So I just think that the driver pairing of Cadillac has the ability to be more consistent than the driver pairing of Aston. Whilst I love Fernando Alonso, he can pull greatness out of the bag.
Yeah.
I think with that car, it puts a lot of weight on his shoulders.
Yeah.
Whereas I think
Well-
with Cadillac, you've got two drivers that know how to work as a team. And whilst the team is new, they've got two veteran drivers. So I have faith in Bottas and Checo more than Aston Martin to turn their car around.
That's good logic. Well, we shall see. So,
Which-
in P9, I've gone with Alpine,
Okay.
which is a change, in my opinion, from about 2 weeks ago during testing. A lot of that's based on their slightly underwhelming performance in free practice today. I think we all thought with the Mercedes engine they were going to be up there with the rest, but actually it doesn't look like the engine apart from the top 4 teams, has as much of an impact during free practice as we maybe expected it would. And Alpine, I'm not a big Flavio Briatore fan. I worry a bit about the management of that team. Pierre Gasly's great, but yeah, I don't think they're going to do anything spectacular. So I've gone with them P9.
Yeah, I also have Alpine at P9.
There you go.
For pretty much the exact same reasons. I think that the drivers are probably able to deal with the management style just because of the environment they've grown up in and the careers that they've chosen to be in. My concern is more about the inner workings of that team and how the mechanics work and how the engineers work, and if they're treated the same way as we've seen the drivers be treated, does that create an environment that people don't perform well in? So, are they going to lose time in the pit stops? Are they going to lose communication in free practice because no one wants to talk to each other? Like all these things, I think there's a lot of ways that team could fall down based on the way that it's run.
Yeah.
Even though they've got probably the most solid engine in the car.
And at some point we're expecting Christian Horner to come swanning in there. But okay, who have you gone for P8 then, Tom?
I haven't. So I'm thinking of the teams. See, everything in my being... So there's 2 teams in my mind at the moment. I'm trying to think if I've forgotten anyone.
This is what I'm talking about. These midfield places are really difficult, and I think they could change on a dime.
I think I'm going for V-Carb.
Interesting. Okay. Do you want to say any more?
I think you can't have... It's a very young team in terms of driver pairings. I think with the amount of newness in the vehicles and the regs, people are going to be relying so heavily on racecraft to get them through these races that I think whilst the car's going to be good and those drivers are great, there's going to be a level of inconsistency in their performances because they're going to be learning so much so quickly.
Yeah. Although Liam Lawson's been around the block a bit now, in several ways.
In several ways, yeah.
So, we're going to, hopefully not to make this too boring, but for P8, I have also gone for Racing Bulls.
I think, just so we have not discussed anything.
No.
I am doing everything off vibes.
What I will say is, this is one of the decisions I'm least confident about. They both looked reasonably fast, maybe even best of the rest in free practice today. And I was considering whether I should change it. But the thing that's niggling in the back of my mind is the reliability of the Red Bull powertrains. And I think they're going to have problems, so at least at the start of the season, and then they'll be playing catch up, which is why I put them P8. The other reason is, I have to put someone there, and I literally don't know who else.
I think what I predict right now is going to happen is our top 4 might be different.
Yeah.
And there's the potential that our little competition here might be decided by who loses between Cadillac and Aston.
Which would be funny by itself.
Which would be, yeah, because...
Suddenly I've become a Lance Stroll fan all year, yeah.
Yeah. Are we on to P7 now?
Yes, I will go next. So, 11, 10, 9, 8, yes. For P7...
Okay. Wait, I'm gonna... If you take off your headphones so you can't hear me.
How am I going to know when to put them back on?
I'll tell you.
Okay.
I'm going to predict that Williams going for Williams because I'm also going for Williams. So we'll see.
Were you saying rude things about me?
No.
So, P7 in the Constructors' Championship. Just now considering whether I'm going to change this. No, okay, we're going to stick with it. As much as it pains me to say it, what I've written down is Williams. Why are you celebrating this?
I know my friends. You'll see when you come to edit the video, you'll see.
Oh, do you expect me to say that?
It's because I'm also saying that.
Oh, no. Okay. Williams have not been exciting at the start of this season for all that 2026 was our big year, according to James Vowles. And that's proved the case in free practice today as well. I have hope that they're going to recover a bit and fight with the best of the midfield, which is why I put them up at P7, which we've got to remember with 11 teams now is in the middle. Yeah. But I They could have gone P6 in my list. It was a very close fought thing. I think basically the numbers today from free practice is what swung it to P7. So I think they will recover a bit, but I don't think they're going to be fighting with the front four, which is what I'd really hoped for this year, which is really upsetting.
Oh, we always hope for that, yeah.
There we go. Why have you gone? What was your logic the same?
Yes, do you know what? No. I was going to go for Williams, but to keep this relatively interesting, and because I have faith in our Lord and Saviour James Vowles, I'm going to put Audi there.
Ah, okay. Now I want you to win.
Again, mainly because it's not because of anything that Audi have or haven't done. It's just because I like James Vowles and Williams.
Fair enough.
Because it's a purely vibes-based pick. So I'm going Audi and then I'm going Williams.
So you're going Williams for P6. It probably won't surprise you that in P6 I have Audi. Audi feel like they've been on a bit of a journey as they come into Formula One. When it was announced a few years ago that they were entering into the sport, there was a lot of hype. And I think because they had a head start on everyone else on developing the engine and building this team, and obviously they took over Sauber, and the last few years of Sauber was Audi kind of starting to meld that team into what it would become. There was certainly a time when everyone thought Audi were going to come in and dominate, and then I think some realism hit, and everyone was like, no, hang on, a brand new team in F1, they're probably going to be not great.
I think that was also the period of time where everyone was like, they're definitely going to get Mick Schumacher and Vettel.
Yeah.
It's going to be an all-German team. Yeah, no.
And now,
whilst I would have loved it, no.
We've landed somewhere in the middle. And particularly in FP1, Hulkenberg looking pretty good, Bortoletto in FP2, and they look like strong midfield contenders, which I think is very impressive for a new team. And yeah, P6 on my list.
So, P5, and I am going to presume that you and I have gone for the same team again, in the name of Haas.
There aren't many left, are there? It was either going to be a surprise, like a big shock, or it was going to be Haas.
Big surprise.
I've also gone with Haas for P5. They just look really quick.
They do at the moment. They look like the best of the rest.
They look pretty quick. Emin in particular, no shade to Ocon. Actually, Ocon's looked quick too. I think they've got the Ferrari engine, which looks really quick off the line. We'll see whether that continues. And just seems to have a good kind of head for what's going on and organising that team, and has got them into a really good place. Yeah, no, credit to them. I reckon they're going to do really well.
But I also like that driver pairing. Like,
yeah,
don't get me wrong. Like I've never been the biggest Ocon fan, but I think that was by proxy because I was always a massive fan. Whoever he was teammates with, I was hardcore Danny Rick fan, so therefore I wasn't an Ocon fan. We really liked Gasly, so I was never going to be an Ocon fan. So it was always, I didn't like him because of who he was a teammate with rather than anything about him.
Yeah.
Whereas now, don't get me wrong, I do really quite like Ollie Behrman especially, but I don't have any massive affiliations to him, and therefore as a pairing I quite like them working together. They seem to work well together, the team like working with them. So, the same way as I picked Cadillac over Aston, I think the drivers could make the difference there between them and the rest of the midfield.
Yeah, definitely. I think Ollie Behrman has put in some spectacular performances so far, and I think we've seen only just the beginning of what he's going to be capable of doing. I'm sure he'll end up in a Ferrari at some point, for better or worse.
It depends how Ferrari do this year.
It might be sooner than he thinks.
Yeah.
So, we're getting into the top four, the big question, because it does look like, and even off of free practice today, I'm just going to get the times up actually. It does look like there is a significant gap between the top four teams and the rest of the field. So,
yeah,
if we look...
And I feel like this is where you and I might have differing opinions.
Yeah. It looks like they might be like
have opinions.
A second off, basically, between P4 and P5. And across the whole field, it's looking like just under 4 seconds, which is both a lot and not as bad as we thought it would be.
Yeah, but I think as soon as you take Aston out of that equation as well, it becomes a little less.
It becomes about 3 seconds, which the whole field was under a second separated last year. So I think we were maybe spoilt by that.
Yeah,
but
we added new regs to make it closer racing, and we've got further racing.
We'll see. So, do you want to go first, or shall I go first for P4?
I don't want to be influenced by your choice that you've thought about.
Okay. Hit me with it.
Because I feel like there's a an obvious choice,
Uh-huh.
but it pains me to say it.
Go on then.
Where I think P4 might be Red Bull.
Might be.
I say only might be because Max Verstappen can do many miracles. And the only reason I say that is because Ferrari looks solid, the Mercedes engine looks solid. We don't know a lot about the Red Bull powertrains. We don't know about the reliability of that. So whilst by the end of the season, Max might be able to come through again, I don't know if he'll be quick enough, especially if we lose some races.
I, in P4, have gone for... It's Red Bull as well. I've gone for Red Bull as well. Yeah. I think what you said is true. Worried about their reliability. I also think they just looked like significantly slower on the data today than the other three teams. For F1's official data that they've released on both quali and race simulation pace, we don't know how much we can rely on this because they're not always right. But they're a couple of tenths off everyone else above them. Yeah. P4 Red Bull.
Yeah.
I think Isaac Hadjar might do a decent job though.
I think Isaac Hadjar has the potential to be the best teammate Max has had since Checo.
Maybe the luckiest.
Not that it's a difficult thing to be, but
I think he's come at a good time where the car is brand new and it's a new kind of team essentially. There won't be necessarily the same number of idiosyncrasies of Max's driving and culture impacting the car, at least at the word go. So we'll see. Go on then. Who have you got in P3?
Oh, this is P3.
Difficult.
It is. P3, I'm going McLaren.
Okay. Do you want to explain yourself?
I think they have the potential to be P1 because their driver lineup is probably the most solid, and they've got the Mercedes engine, so they've got a reliable basis for the car. However, I think that because they are double reigning champions, it's new regs. Lando will want to prove himself as a continued champion, not just a one-off. Oscar will want to say, nah mate, I'm still here. And McLaren are so against having a first driver and a second driver, they want two first drivers, that there may be some internal issues in that team that cause them to be their own downfall this
Papaya
year.
rules though, no?
I don't know.
I wonder if, in some ways, that not picking a favourite driver, you could argue, helped the team last year.
It did, but it certainly made for some driving decisions that were questionable.
Oh, yeah. No, yeah.
And I think Lando will be able to prove himself, Oscar will be able to prove himself, and with the battery issue, with the question of how people use their batteries, abilities of car, few races that I think would naturally have gone McLaren's way may or may not go ahead. I think there's
true. That's interesting. Bahrain.
I think there's the potential that McLaren may be their own downfall.
Okay. We shall see. Do you want to know who I've gone for in P3? This is really difficult, okay? Because at this point, no idea. It's really close between these top three teams. And we'll get a little bit more of an idea on Sunday. But even then, I wouldn't probably be confident. In P3, I've gone for Ferrari. I think they look really quick. They look really good. They're very quick off the line so far in free practice. I think they probably have the most reliable engine so far. I think that will probably change over the course of the year. Not that they'll get less reliable, but the other teams will catch up. But I don't think so far they've shown the speed of the other two teams. I'd like to see, I reckon Lewis Hamilton could compete for some wins and some podiums, which would be good for him. So that would be exciting to see. But I think Ferrari are probably coming P3.
Yeah. Which means I guess it's of no surprise that I've put Ferrari at P2.
Interesting.
For me, it was a real sort of 51-49 split between McLaren and Ferrari. Like it could go either way. But I see, for me, the McLaren drivers and the McLaren team have a lot of weight on their shoulders to maintain this championship winning run, and the drivers to prove themselves to be not just a one-off championship winner. For me, Ferrari, the team and the drivers, have found themselves in this underdog positioned somehow as the oldest team and Ferrari, where people expect them to present this all flashy Ferrari exterior and then fall back. And I feel like this year, it might be Ferrari's year, and it could be the year that they pull something out of the bag. Like you say, I think they'll compete for wins and podiums, and I think consistency is key, and I think those two drivers are just a bit more consistent.
So I guess by extension, we know who you've put in P1.
Yes.
You want to talk about that now?
Out of everything I've seen, it had to be Mercedes in P1. I don't like to say it instinctively as a sort of Red Bull fan and Williams fan. I don't like to say Mercedes are going to win, but they seem to be the most reliable. They seem to be the most sort of solid team in terms of their structure, their team. The driver pairing is solid in terms of performance, but there's a definite hierarchy between who leads that team and who's the veteran driver and who's the one coming up and through.
Yeah.
So it just feels like they're in a much more solid place. Whereas in Ferrari and McLaren, you've got Leclerc, who's just is Ferrari's baby, and you've got Lewis Hamilton, 7-time world champion. In McLaren, you've got two world-class drivers that they don't want to pick between. Whereas in Mercedes, you've got two world-class drivers, one that they're saying is their veteran driver. And it just feels much more certain as a unit.
Yeah. I think there won't be many people who would watch this who would disagree with you about Mercedes for this year. I think that's the bookies' favourite. That's where the general sentiment is. They have looked good today. I've put Mercedes in P2.
Was that always your decision? Or was that a last minute?
No, it wasn't just now. It's what I've got written down.
Okay.
I think everyone's sleeping on McLaren. I really do. I think they've won the championship 2 years in a row. They've got the Mercedes engine. They look really quick on testing and on the free practice data today. I think F1's official data has them as the fastest car in quali pace and race sim pace, like ahead of Mercedes. And I think everyone got a bit like bitter and fractured about the Lando-Oscar debate last year, that everyone's just tried to ignore them as a team. But I think there's just a good chance they win it this year. And I'm a bit of a McLaren fan anyway, so that's probably influenced my decision. But I think, yeah, as you say, they've got a great driver lineup. I think with George and Kimi, I would assume we'll see some decent step forwards for Kimi Antonelli. I'm expecting a race win or two this year. But I don't know that he'll have the consistency that comes with experience yet. Whereas I think Lando and Oscar are both in that comfortable mid part of their careers where they know what's going on. I think they're both well suited to adapt to the new cars. I just see it. I just think it's going to be McLaren. The more I thought about it, I was like, no, this isn't going to be Mercedes' year.
And part of me hopes you're right. But at least what this does mean is it's not just us battling it out between Cadillac and Aston.
Yes.
It means our top threes are at least, it's the same people, same teams, but different order. So that's fun.
Yeah. We shall see at the end of the year how wrong we are with that. I suppose we should just take a minute to do who we think are going to be top three in the drivers, and then we need to move on to Australia. This is again a bumper-long episode.
Yes.
So, are you doing this on the fly as well?
Yes.
Okay. World Drivers' Championship 2026. Who's coming in third place, Tom? Okay, not buying my rhetoric about McLaren just now. That's fine. I've gone with Max Verstappen. I think Red Bull's the fourth fastest car, but I think he'll be absolutely in the mix. I could have even put in second, but just on balance.
And guess where I'm putting him?
Hey!
In second.
Second.
I can't not put Max Verstappen in my top three.
Yeah, I think he'll be great, to be honest. It's just a question of whether he has the car to accelerate to the front, and I'm not sure he will. In P2...
For me, it's not necessarily the car. It's more the fact that does he have the teammate to help him in the races?
Yeah, I think Isaac Hadjar's probably going to want to get elbows out a bit, though, isn't he?
Yeah.
Just deciding whether I want to switch these. No, I'm going to stick with it. I did it. I've stuck with everything else. In P2, I've gone with Formula One world champion Lando Norris.
There we go.
Fernando Alonso. No, I haven't said P1 yet.
Come on.
Lando, I think, also being slept on very consistent. I think it's going to be really close. I genuinely think the top like 5 drivers could all be in a shout. I don't know if we'll get as close to last year. We're not going to get like a 5-way fight at the end, but I think it will be like reasonably close points total across the board.
I think top 6.
Yeah.
Personally. Because it was me picking third was the toughest one. For me, it was between, and this kind of gives away who I'm going to put as first. For me, picking third was between both McLaren and Ferrari drivers.
Okay. Yeah, does this give it away? No, this doesn't necessarily give it away. The person that I was fighting to find an extra place in the top 3, sadly there's only 3 places, was Charles Leclerc.
Yeah.
Because I think he's going to have a fantastic year as well. But I couldn't find a spot for him. Who is going to be the World Drivers' Champion? Tom?
George Russell.
I've also put George Russell. Yeah.
Most consistent car, most consistent team.
I think most consistent driver.
I had them for top constructors. Exactly. So I had them number 1 for constructors. It only makes sense to have them number 1 for the drivers as well.
Just by way of explaining the difference in mine, I think the thing about George Russell, and in the last year, which was his best year in the sport, is he was just always there. Mercedes weren't competitive for a lot of the year, and he was just putting in P3s pretty consistently every weekend, maybe a P4.
Yeah, and he was quiet about it as well.
And if he can do that, if he gets a bunch of wins because Mercedes are right up there at the front, battling with McLaren or Ferrari, and then when he doesn't win, keep doing what he does, I can just see him running away with it a little bit, just on consistency.
Yeah. Like I say, he doesn't seem to get too hot-headed when he's in the car either. So he's not on the podium. He'll take a P. He won't enjoy it, but he'll take a P4 and just plug away at the points and grow a gap. So I think if it's going to happen, this year might be the year.
Yeah. Should we talk about Australia? Because I think my predictions for it might surprise you.
Okay.
So
again, I've made no predictions. I'm doing this based
all I've got in the way of predictions is someone on pole position, someone to win the race, and for a bit of fun, the best place finisher outside of the top 4 teams.
Okay.
You've got my sense of what I think the order's going to be, but the kind of spanner in the works is the reliability question at the start of the year. This is the first race of the season, and also I guess how the drivers react to the new cars at a full race distance will be interesting. But anyway, who do you reckon is going to be on pole position this weekend?
Pole position this weekend. Oh!
We can't... Oh, I better not go for the same people. It would be awful. Okay, go on.
Do you know what? I want to go a little bit in Charles Leclerc.
Okay. Why?
I think Ferrari are consistent. So long as it doesn't rain, I have faith in their strategies, especially when it comes to timings of cars coming out in quali. I just think Charles Leclerc will want to come out and prove something this year.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think if he has the chance, he will try and grab them where he can this year. For pole position, for the Melbourne Grand Prix, I've gone for Oscar Piastri.
Homeboy, okay.
Yeah, it's his home race. He put in the fastest time in FP2, which is the most representative practice session. McLaren have the fastest car, at least this weekend, according to F1 anyway, and I think he's annoyed about last year at Melbourne. I think there's a bit of a curse on Australian drivers in Melbourne, and I think he'll want to break that, and I reckon he'll put a hell of a lap and get on pole position. So,
I hope you're right.
Who do you think is going to win? You sticking with your initial prediction?
I want to say no, because it would mean the race, at least at the front, was relatively boring. However, Melbourne is not the easiest track to overtake on. So I'm going to stick with Charles Leclerc for winning the race.
I have also put Charles Leclerc as the race winner. There's a curse. The Australian drivers, there's a curse. Oscar might want to beat the curse. He's not going to beat the curse. And it doesn't really matter where Charles Leclerc qualifies, because that car is so rapid off the line at the moment that he'll get in front.
True, yes.
And then, like you say, it's difficult to overtake. Don't know if that's true in the new regulations. But if it is, easy.
How have we managed this, man?
I know.
No conferring has happened whatsoever.
I think this is why we're so bad at our grid rival thing.
I just think we've been friends since we were 13 and we know each other too well.
Yeah, but I'm not picking my team because, like, you'll like it.
No, I just think we've now had this sort of like, our opinions have just, over however many years it's been, have just leveled out and we're now there.
Yeah. Right. Best placed non-top four driver.
Ollie Behrman.
Surprised because you picked Haas as the best of the rest. I have written two names down because
Okay.
I had the foresight that what has occurred this episode might happen. And I thought at this point, it'd be good to have a backup name in case we go for the same person.
And I'm assuming we did.
So I'm going to say that the best placed driver from a non-top four team for the Melbourne Grand Prix is going to be Arvid Lindblad,
Okay.
which would be a very exciting debut. Good luck to him.
It would be. I would love to see that. Genuinely, I'd be quite happy to be wrong if that was the case.
But yes, I also Behrman as my first option written
There
down.
we go. Yes.
Okay, quickly, let's talk through who we put in our fantasy teams for this weekend. This is our year, Tom.
Yes.
It's been terrible every other year. We've come last pretty consistently, but feeling good about it. We're going to turn this thing around.
And I imagine our team's going to be fairly similar.
Normally they are. What I will say is you're faced with this decision. I suppose we should explain how the grid rival fantasy teams work for anyone that doesn't know. So you pick
Yes,
four
yeah.
drivers and one team, and you can have them for a
Five
contract.
drivers.
5 drivers, one team. Thank you.
Yeah.
And you can have them through a contract from anywhere between 1 and 5 races. And the tricky thing at the start of the season is knowing whether to just try and get a bunch of points straight out the gate, or to try and earn some money, because we both end up in a situation normally towards the end of the year where we just can't afford any drivers, and
We've done so badly that we end
downward
up with
spiral.
just a downward spiral of drivers.
because interestingly, with the new regulations throwing up some surprises, there are definitely some people. There's some chances to earn money with some people out of place, but the temptation to just pick top drivers who may be slightly discounted is a strong temptation. So it's hard. It's a hard one to square.
As we talk, I am currently changing my team.
Oh my god. Okay, shall I talk through mine first then?
That's probably a wise decision, yes.
Okay, so I'm now wondering whether this is tricky because normally you get like right up until quali starts to lock this in, but we're committing to this. So I'm just now deciding whether I want to change.
After we talk about
Do you
it
know
now, we're committing.
Let's go with it. I'm locking in a pretty British team. Don't read into that too much. That's more by accident than by design. So, to start with, I've got George Russell, I've got Lando Norris, I've got Lewis Hamilton, I've got Ollie Behrman, and then my one French driver, Esteban Ocon. So both Haas drivers. And for my team, I've also gone with Haas. I think the only thing I might change before we start is the number of races I've got them locked in for, because
Yeah, I'll change
at
that.
the moment it's might be tricky with money if I've made the wrong choices here. But that's my team. It differs from our predictions for the weekend because you're scored not just on where they finish, but also on like how many overtakes they do, or how well they do compared to their teammate, if they finish the race, where they qualify, that kind of thing. So it is a slightly complicated thing, but I think I've got quite a good spread. And yeah, I feel like Haas are going to do great. There's one driver you get double points for. They have to be a development driver, so they have to be worth less than a certain amount. So it's normally kind of the bottom half of the field. My choice for this week is Ollie Behrman. Really need him to have a good week for me to be competitive at all. That's my team.
My team now then.
Yes.
So, for my fantasy team, I have got George Russell,
Snap.
Oscar Piastri,
Ah.
Charles Leclerc, Ollie Behrman, and for pure just charisma alone, Valtteri Bottas. Now, the reason I've gone with Valtteri Bottas is so I can keep some money in the bank. I have a habit of losing money very quickly. So I've got a little bit of a buffer left in the bank, and then I've gone for Haas as my constructors.
Sensible.
I have doubled Ollie Behrman.
So same but different, basically.
Yeah, we've both got a McLaren driver.
And a Ferrari driver, and George Russell, and doubled
And
Ollie
Ferrari driver,
Behrman,
and George Russell. And Haas.
and Haas. So yeah, we're quite similar, but we've gone for like the opposite drivers.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
you feeling confident?
If the last 3 years of fantasy F1 had taught me anything, it's that I should never be too confident about how I will do.
I think it's gonna go terrible. Oh, I'm excited.
It's gonna go
though.
awful.
I'm excited. We're back. We're back. F1's back.
We're back. And if you want to join us in our Grid Rival Fantasy team, there's a link somewhere above us now. So go ahead and join us and have some fun.
Yeah. I think that's basically all I've got to say. I'm sure we'll be back after the race on Sunday or early next week,
We will.
reviewing our predictions and talking about, I'm sure, a lot of drama and a lot more spicy stories and rumours. Because we're into the thick of it now. And it's about time that silly season started, isn't it? Yeah. All right. We'll see you soon, guys.
Thanks, guys. If you want to like, subscribe, follow, all that good
All
stuff.
those good things. Yes, that's very true.
Do all those good things.
And we'll see you next time.